All right, well, thank you all for being here for our monthly MoAD open mic. We're thrilled to have poet Ashia Ajani joining us as our featured poet this evening. My name is Nia McAllister, and I'm the Senior Public Programs Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora. As we begin all of our events, we like to invite you again to share in the chat where you're calling in from, and also we want to ground ourselves in the spaces that we occupy. As many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent, our institutions were founded upon the exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples on whose lands we are located. MoAD occupies the unceded land of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, and we pay our respect to the Ohlone peoples and their elders, both past and present, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We encourage everyone to learn more about the native lands that you occupy by visiting nativeland.ca. We'll share that resource in the chat as well. So for those of you who are new to this space, I'll give a brief overview about our monthly open mic. This is truly a space for community where we bring our full selves, our spectrum of feelings and lived experiences. It's a place where we uplift and support each other. And we're using art and poetry as a way to connect with each other's experiences. And so I, again, want to center respect and care in this space and make sure we're here to support each other. So for those of you who signed up to read, thank you so much for putting your names on the list and being a part of today's reading. And thank you to those who are here to listen and support as our audience. Your role is just as important. So throughout the event, please use the reactions, use the chat, affirm the readers who are coming up to read today, whether it's by sharing phrases that stand out to you, all the emojis, any ways to support and uplift the people who are going to come up to the virtual mic. So I'm about to drop the lineup. Each reader has about 4 minutes to share, and I'll introduce the readers before they go up. If for some reason someone's not in the room when we call them, but they join later, we'll circle back to them. And midway through the event, our wonderful feature will be sharing for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then we'll wrap up with the remaining open mic readers. So to kick it off, it's my honor to introduce Norm Maddox. Welcome up, Norm.
Welcome back. I have a couple of pieces, and it's not necessarily new stuff, but I haven't read it here before. First piece. In search of myself. An expedition across the expanse that opens behind my eyelids. The pause between exhale and inhale. A sliding door timed to look away just before the impulse to sabotage the first step in the journey across the innerverse. Fear that I am lost before I begin. Emotions congeal in held breaths. Fear that I have not imagined the enormity of this quest. There is nothing to find, nothing to discover, nothing to claim as a result of this expedition. Climbing mountains did not lead to finding any things. Got lost in retreat, searching for dust ball breadcrumbs blown asunder with each step. The wake of my passing closes behind me. There is no going back. Each step, a heart's beat towards a new home. Next piece. Tumbling walls. I want my poems to be timeless. Reality reminds me I am barely a glimpse of the expression, especially since now only reaches to the horizons. Pages flame with passion that consume a forest. Fingertips crumble like cigar ash. Typing words that blister my lips and singe my mustache. I speak them into ether, must read them, must hear them read. The form of the stanza follows the curves of my heart, traces the angles of my bones swinging on hangers in the closet. On the page, You see the elegance in my caesura. Eyes shift through blank space at the intended meter. Gravity drops after lines break. While my silent pause makes you uncomfortable, I am waiting for the echo of your last thought to land on the places that need to listen. While my profile assumes the mirage of calm, I am witness to the tremor, shaking my foundations, tumbling the walls and trap doors that keep me safe from myself in the mansion housing my breath. No one imagines the roar of traditional pillars cascading down from attic to basement, the internal reclamation of space, repurpose the parts, redesign the original creation, longing for a place inside my skin I can call home. Peace.
Wow, those were absolutely beautiful, Norman. It's exciting to hear new work as well. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Next up, I would like to invite Andrea Jacobo up to the mic. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I haven't been here in, I think it's been since May. I can't do math right now. So I hope everyone's doing well. I'm calling all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. And I have a few poems that are older and newer. And if I have time, I'll probably, my newest one that was born at 4 a.m. yesterday. It feels so beautiful to be here. And
Your sound just went out for a second.
oh,
There we go.
I don't know why my camera, not my camera, my clicker loves to do some things. Anyway, so I actually want to invite y'all, if you feel comfortable, to take a breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. On the next inhale and exhale, just release any tension. Inhale. Exhale through the mouth. And the last one I like to do 3 breaths, 3 good breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Thank you so much. You're welcome to open your eyes if you feel comfy. So this piece is dedicated to my grandmother. She's been on my mind lately, and I wrote this for her, and I'm going to send this to her later. So this is para ti. Esto es para ti, abuela. En la casa de mi abuela Margarita, cuando se limpiaba, el piso se echaba agua. Water would splash everywhere, and I would wait to see the waves filled of soap, crash against the walls like the waves of El Malecón. If you close your eyes at night and hear and wait and wonder, and the bustle of Santo Domingo comes down to a ghosting hum. Agua cleanses the spirit of the red brick walls and the red brick floors of the generations that came before me. When it rained, la lluvia would say hello, como una vecina entremetida. I would see the water rise all the way up to the track of the sliding door. Let it spill over the living room. I always loved an aguacero in the summer. How it cooled the city and grounded the people, allowed my spirit to roam within the raindrops. Within the raindrops. I thought I learned how to swim in the ocean, but it was a daydream of water. Thank you. That was like a little roller coaster. Thank you so much. Actually wrote this on my notes. These are like my rough notes, rough notes. Thank you. The next piece is something I wrote when I was with my family. And you let me know if I'm good on time, Nia. Thank you. Nine, 6/2022. What is it to a flower when you rip the petals bare bone for someone to experience the waters of August and the flowers of June? Petals bloom knowing that the caress of will never feel the same as it started to grow. How many times do we long for the seconds to catch to the hour? The distance breeze is reminiscent, waking her feelings, tingles between the nodes of her ranvier. And all of our nothings, and all or nothing, current, este amor de lejos, when their body is near, is warmth cooed your woes to sleep. In the same slumber, what is it? What is a dream to a woman looking for love in between seasons? Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do have one last one. I've been doing this thing called, I bought this little book called Create a Poem a Day. Well, not a day, but like whenever you sit down for it. And I just wrote it yesterday. So do I have time for that one? Or is, okay, cool. It's called Family. Seeds to a name. Me llamo Andrea Margarita Jacobo Duran. I give you my mother, like your father would say. If he only knew his children are the roots of all our ancestors, sprung into new trees, forming clans of tribes, bringing Afro-Indígena futures to a colonized city near you. Las olas del mar, canta secretos en bachata, iluminando el alma que ruega por libertad en la familia, comunidad y patria. Gracias. Have a beautiful one. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much for sharing all three of those pieces. And I'm really excited for you to share that first one with your grandma. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Irene Vasquez up to the mic. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Irene. Thank you all so much for having me. Thank you to Ashia, our feature, who I adore. Thank you to everyone who has read before me, everyone's coming after. I'm so excited. I haven't been to an open mic in so long. So I'm so grateful for the space and everything that you guys do at MoAD. Calling in from Hoboken today, and we will see, this is the first time I've done a virtual open mic since I got a cat. So we will see if she lets me get to this reading. I'm going to read two poems from my chapbook that's coming out next month, Take Me to the Water. So this first one is called The Black Shoals. Swallow me whole, O beast of the southern radar, patron of the disaster zone of the unsurvivable storm surge, O surveiller of our anxieties, of a drowning foretold. Here we are in another August of hot darkness, another storm ravaging the Black Shoals, and I'm told the map isn't even accurate anymore. The coastline has eroded so much that Louisiana is no longer a boot shape, our shores more salt water than Homestead, and I click through headlines on Twitter like it's all new. But my lungs were declared a disaster zone long ago. My people have wandered and were lost refugees in their own country, their homes named uninhabitable long before the storm even hit. I've spent my life flinching at the slightest crack of thunder, but it is August, 3 months into a national uprising, 400 plus years into a people's apocalypse, 20 days after a man was shot in the back 7 times in Wisconsin, and I am tired of telling people that these are natural disasters. 5 years ago, when the last storm hit, I might have told you that every 500 years, someone must bear the sins of a people, but in the years since my hands first began to shake, I've learned who and what and where is responsible, and as the storm spins in the radar, I watch colonization unfold in real time. Man-made climate change turns whiteness into stacks of cumulonimbus. As the eye of the storm intensifies with each degree stacked in the Gulf, each tick moves upward on the stock exchange. Tell me, someone didn't dream up this deluge, this clearing of land, uninhabitable, contaminated. Tell me who has the right to remain. Tell me without flinching that my life matters. Truth be told, the storm isn't even the half of it. Ain't nothing new about our lands declared uninhabitable, cleared for industrial use, for flume and flare, for fire and brimstone. This place, the only one where we were allowed to reside. Refineries, petrochemical infestations have taken hold in our homelands, and in the days before natural disaster, they unleash one man-made all on their own. Here, our bodies marked in yellow tape, uninhabitable, flooding the lungs of our communities with the smoke from their stacks. Oh, Our Lady of Perpetual Fever Dreams, our asphalt sovereign, mother of ozone action days and asthmatic breath. Behold how the men have partitioned our city, sliced and diced until all that is left is to worry and wait. We were never meant to survive. And ain't that some shit? Ain't that something holy in all this mudbound? Ain't that some Black life? For still, I sit here loving you, blessed city of perpetual rain cloud, we who have kept on keeping on, pressing towards the mark. We brought here to these Black shoals long before the storms came. We who will keep the land long after our captors are gone. So that was poem number 1. This next one is the first time I've read it out loud, like since I wrote it. So we will see how this goes. This poem is called Glory from Above, and it's after the Frank Ocean song Pink and White. My dear, we found ourselves alive at the end of the world. We're smoking on the banks of the river banks that first broke my heart. It's sunny, though it started to rain, and the droplets cut the heat as we scramble to save the J. I was barely old enough to remember when the river first flooded, its gray-green waters overtopping the levees as an entire nation looked on. Now, on the banks of a new life, I've brought you here to fall in love. This city has long known a life amidst abandonment, learned to live on the brink of drowning. Regard, my dear, it's all downhill from here. Thank you.
Wow, both of those pieces were incredible. Thank you so much for sharing them and for being in this space. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Paige Curtis up to the mic. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Paige Curtis, and I'll actually be reading some prose tonight. And I'll be reading the first post in a newsletter I just started on nature, culture, and humor. It's called Black Ecology. Years ago, I visited the Dead Sea. Eager to float in its famed high salinity water, I jumped in, but was stunned by a burning sensation down there. It was so painful, I had to get out of the water. And while this happens to plenty of tourists, the experience reinforced an old saying from my mom. A penis is like a spout, but a vagina is a cup, my mom always said. It catches things. I think of this whenever I take a bath, only after the bathtub is cleaned with surgical precision, or whenever I swim in bodies of water. Bacteria and other microorganisms are a natural and essential part of aquatic ecosystems. But thanks to warming waters caused by climate change, toxic algae blooms and harmful microbes are becoming more common in freshwater bodies. The Republicans working to roll back clean water legislation will never know the chaos of your hand brushing a leaf in the water, but you thought it was a dead fish. There are two types of people in this world: lake people and ocean people. I grew up in the Southeast, where beaches along the Atlantic coast reign supreme. I find the scent of salt water and sunscreen intoxicating, and long for that deep, fatigued feeling you get from being battered by waves and sun. Ocean people relax on the shore with a good book, soak in the sun, snap sweet pics, and chill. Lake people are the type to wear Guy Fieri lenses, own a sea kayak, and really put the sport in water sports. They're good people, those lake folks, just built differently. I live in New England now, where the beaches are cold and rocky. To my horror, I'm now surrounded by lake people and becoming one myself. For someone who can't swim, I've had a surprisingly pleasant time in the deep lakes, swimming holes, and rivers in the region. But I think of my mom's adage about cups and spouts quite often. Here are some thoughts that plague me when swimming in fresh water. What if all those History Channel shows about lake monsters are real, and the monster is Ted Cruz? What if I swallow a mouthful of unclean water and my last two brain cells are devoured by that rare brain-eating amoeba? Then there's that existential question, to pee or not to pee in the water? If I do pee, will I attract a fish like the candiru, that infamous Amazonian species rumored to swim into people's urethra? As a final goodbye to summer, I went paddleboarding on the Charles River over the long weekend. As was the case in many American cities, the Charles used to be so dank, locals joked about needing a tetanus shot if you ever fell in. Well, that weekend, I did fall into the river. Actually, I jumped in. It was pretty hot. And it was surreal to know that as recently as 1995, the river was polluted with human waste, industrial sludge, and other delightful things. Thanks to local conservation groups and federal oversight, the Charles River is a restoration success story. If any of you have ever swam in fresh water and not gotten pink eye afterwards, you have the Clean Water Act to thank. You're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, thank you, Paige. That piece was so great. Thank you so much for sharing that and being here in the open mic space with us. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Jalen Thompson up to the mic. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here and very appreciative to be here. The series of poems that I'm going to share is from an upcoming project that I'm working on in which I portray Kim Kardashian. And so I call these poems, this series of poems, Poems for Kim Kardashian. Even though the grand exterior is always under construction, this mansion is not big enough for my ego. This mansion is not big enough for my ego. Even with the emerald green arbor vitae that lines the expansive perimeter, this mansion is not big enough for my ego. This mansion is not big enough for my ego. And even with the manicured plain green grass planted by experts, the pride of the neighborhood, the example of fine living, the envy of all housewives, this mansion is not big enough for my ego. No, this mansion is not big enough for my ego. I despise this gnat that keeps pecking on the stained, contrasting red and blue window that overlooks my terrace. Who does it think it is? How dare it ruin my sitting? Curses on it and all that kind. It is sad though, because it is my only friend. That's another thing I despise it for. I used to hide my face at the flashing lights. I never liked the way the lights exposed the cracks in my face. I am obsessed with the photograph now. It is the only living thing that will tell me the truth, no matter how ugly. I welcome the flashing lights. The clicks are a chorus that underscores my sachet. The blank stare I give is really my inability to contain my gratitude. So I'll say it once and for all. Thank you for loving me with your camera, and only with your camera. Cover me in pink rose petals dipped in honey. Shower me with sweet milk, smooth as satin. Drink from my skin its stickiness. Pluck the petals of the all-American beauty rose bush. You will find I am more like thorns, except my sting is weakened by my desire for your distant affection. Thank y'all. You can follow me on Instagram at Jalen.Thompson. I'm releasing my 7th spoken word album, and so you can find out information about that there. Thank y'all.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all those pieces. That was incredible. Please do drop the information about your spoken word album as well. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Damani Thomas up to the mic. Welcome.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me. So I just have one piece. I was working on some poems about like surveillance like a year or so ago, and they've just been sitting in my Google Drive. So I'm gonna read one of them tonight. This is called Blackmoors. If you are reading this, I have lost myself. The same way prisons suicide unknowingly, or the same way police reproduce like cockroaches. At this rate, I believe the only things left after the world ends will be borders. A violence so indigenous will forget what its name was, and a people whose job requires calling things objects instead of what they actually are. But I have a selfish request. I need you to find me. Do not conjure what the waters washed away. Find me. In Louisiana blues, find me. In my Mardi Gras best, find me on MacArthur or East 14th or Bancroft intersection whenever the sideshow smoke towers. Find me in the one-time Stephen threatened to feed me a dead mosquito. Find me, promise you'll look for me. In Piccadilly and Red Beans, find me waving a white flag after another politician promises another policy named after a weapon of war. Find me well-versed in contradiction. Find my joys and give them back. My mango juice, my $1 Arizona, my late night car ride, shower time length of a sad pop song, microaggression side eye the way Black folks know, nuck if you buck before the beat drops, that high-pitched scream before that full gut laugh, my grandmother's pork and beans, my mother's Cinnabons, my grandmother's black-eyed peas, my mother, give them back. My body may decay, but I promise my spirit will kill whoever did this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that piece. It's always wonderful to hear your poetry. Alrighty, so it's that time in the night where I'm going to share a poem and then introduce our wonderful feature for this evening. So this is a piece, I don't know if I've read in this space, maybe it's been a while. It's entitled, How the Border Cries Itself to Sleep at Night. 1. They made me out of nothing. I was soil touching sand, lush green life, new roots, twigs, brush. I was beautiful. I was everything. My body was precious earth, alive with worms, seeds, and silt, a medley of hues and textures, wild and untamed, almost as if I was meant to stay that way. My natural curves blended beside my sister soil, our ends and our beginnings indistinguishable. We braided rivers between us, caught rainfall in our shared valleys, and the wind, she'd carried both of us upon her tongue. There was no need to tell one of us from the other. We were beautiful. We were everything. 2. Until they came, not in silence, but singing the good word of nationhood and promising the safety of somebody's homeland. Their song turned to whisper as they said, how dare this land lie beside this stream, beside this valley, too unified, too comfortable in their own home. So let us make them a new one. They came ready to build, armed with apathy. They arrived measuring sticks in hand, their purpose written not across their faces, but upon maps arbitrarily lined with our fate. They came, they promised us the future, and they cut us apart. Drove metal stakes into my flesh, stole my living, breathing body, caged my brown skin between cold concrete walls, and renamed me Border. 3. But now I answer to empire. I answer to homewrecker. I answer to twin caskets too small to fly flat rate. I answer to surveillance. I answer to national emergency. I answer to weak leaders who fear the resilient. They renamed me security, but this metal being promises you no safety. 4. I know exactly who authored my new beginning. 5. There was power once in being of the land and being it so entirely we could be nothing but free. 6. They politicized their man-made line in the sand. I say man because I know power intimately. The feeling of it slipping from my grasp in the name of greatness, how it leaves behind instead barbed wire and bones, how it uproots my home and promises it knows what's best for me, how it builds me up to serve their wishes only to turn around and call me culprit. Like I said, I know men intimately because they fear my power. 7. Soil keeps better memory because we are witness to history decomposing its own kin. 8. And now you decide to walk across me, as you should. Remember, my living skin was made for walking, for cradling, and for carrying. See, land knows how to care for what is both above and within. As you walk across me, remember, this wild, untamed earth is no stranger to birthing life, to sustaining cycles. I have always been the place of beginning and return. As you now walk across us, remember we came from nothing, but we were everything. So in this life, in another, and the next, I hope you cross us freely. I hope our ends and our beginnings are once more indistinguishable, and that we collect rainfall once more in our shared valleys. Thank you. And now for our featured poet of the evening. Ashia Ajani is a Black storyteller, soul child hailing from Denver, Colorado, Queen City of the Plains, and the unceded territory of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapahoe and Comanche Peoples. They are an environmental justice educator with Mycelium Youth Network and a co-poetry editor with Hopper Literary Magazine. Their work explores Black diasporic environmental stewardship, harm, and placemaking. Her words have been featured in Sierra Magazine, World Literature Today, Honey Lit, and Atmos Magazine, among others. Their poetry debut, Heirloom, is forthcoming spring 2023, and they can be found grass-side, sharing a cup of coffee with the sun. Welcome, Ashia.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Nia. Nia and I met for the very first time in person on Tuesday at the Yerba Buena Festival, and I am just so in awe of everything she does. I am just a huge fan of MoAD as an institution, as a place of memory and art. So thank you so much for having me. And I also want to give a big thank you to Irene, Dimani, Jalen, and Paige for coming and reading. Those are the homies, and I am just so in awe of their work and everything that they're about and everything that they do. So thank you so much. And yeah, just thank you all for being you and putting the work that you do out there in the world. I want to give a couple content warnings. I do talk about racialized violence, as well as some gendered violence and environmental harm in my work. I think that's most prominent in this first poem that I'm about to read. So if anybody needs to take a breath or take some time away from them, from the reading right now, that I completely understand. So I'll pause as I pull up my document so that people can get where they need to be. In the span of 1 year following the Civil War, over 20,000 Black people were starved and left for dead in the concentration camp called the Devil's Punch Bowl. Wild peach trees sprung up from the resulting mass grave. The ruby-throated hummingbird is the most common hummingbird that roosts in the Great River State. At the dawn of wild peach season, their scarlet breasts swell with carnal lust. On rare occasion, hummingbirds will craft their nests and lay their eggs on a peach. Sheltered under green lace shade, camouflage threaded from plant down and spider silk hangs heavy with life's viscous nectar. Genesis dictated God responsible for this ambrosia, a stone fruit salvation sent from heaven. Existence is, by its nature, precarious. We all dissolve into precarity, occupying our minds with whatever sweet honeyed thing offers its body as refuge. Slice through fuzzy, vulnerable flesh to exhume a hardened heart stone from tender pulp. Here, fruit falls untouched. The blossoms of deep spring been trickled down to soil's dark grave ad infinitum, anticipating harvest. That summer, antebellum spirits will crush tiny bones underfoot, weeping nectar once again. This next poem, I am obsessed with Lisa Left Eye Lopez. I'm a Gemini, that's my Gemini kin. And I don't know, her life was just so fascinating. And I'm also realizing I'm in the sun. So fascinating and so tragic and so multi-layered to me. So I just had to write an ode to Left Eye. Ode to the spirit of Left Eye. Looking down a waterfall in La Ceiba, Left Eye, nude and alive, uttered, when I was a kid, I wished all this. I can't help but tease out the irony in getting all you ever wanted mere days before your spirit quits this earth. The devil inside subdued for the time being, the tongue forked, two paths, fames or flight. Maybe it was one of those different personalities begging to be released from a constricting vessel, Gemini that she was. Never satiated by what could be obtained, always fascinated with the beyond, the crass, the unexplainable aching within us all. One twin holds the torch. The other follows close behind with the watering can. I could slash and burn my woes or drown them. I could quench the soil's December thirst after the land had been metamorphosed through unfettered firestorm. I can say sorry from the same cheek I covet my venom. I'm afraid I have already lost what is most dear to me and can never retrieve it. I promise you, if I could isolate the nucleus of my pain, I would pluck the disease from its root and bury it. Even as Left Eye watched a house consumed in a conflagration of her own creation, she couldn't placate the parts of her that wanted to go down with the wreckage. A penchant for flight burns deep in our shared spirits. As she held the leather soles of another Lopez, these wild premonitions of departure etched want in her flesh. I too see dangerous things and try to pay them no mind. You give power to a thing when you name it. So I wander aimlessly, ripping titles from the haints that follow me. I turn a bare face to the sun, eager to stretch my inflamed spirit beyond temporary pleasure. I made dead my sins and left them to fend for themselves in a place I never belonged. Born bruised, I wanted to retreat in the recesses of my mind, if only to be understood thoroughly for the very first time. Sometimes instinct is the only source of truth worth listening to. So that's my ode to Left Eye. This next poem, I think, is very much like embodied of like who I am as a person. So my name is Ashia, a lot of vowels, and it oftentimes gets mispronounced in so many different ways. I also am, Black American, which means that a lot of my lineage is kind of just up for debate. We don't know. So this is kind of a poem about reckoning with that placelessness and trying to like figure out some relationship to ancestry. At coffee shops, I take on a new baptism. I just want my cold brew. The jumbled pieces of genealogy settle into old dust. Seeds knocked from my braids long, long ago. My ancestry choking on seawater. Lost, phonetically abandoned. Softened cheekbones facing eastward always. Anytime some variation of my name is uttered, a dead slave rises from behind my ear and pinches the skin red. At the border between Zambia and South Africa, fresh. Someone pronounces my name correctly for the very first time. All that is left in the space bounded by home and history is longing. The hyphen between African American, superimposed identity. I surrender a piece of my body every time I am asked to place root. Interesting enough to inquire. All the mistakes of the Atlantic reside on my face. Nameless. I'm sorry. I don't have any clean answers for you. I think the blackest thing about me are my eyes. Bless how they were taught to keep moving, to seek truth, to always greet the dawn with devotion. Forward moving, we always turn back time. Like ocean, built of body, memory, the God of good grease paints follicles holy, and those waves, Lord, those ancient waves, facilitate a brother's boldest baptism, wipe me down, a litany of all the good that came to stay. The Atlantic remembers every part of Black anatomy, like a curse, a calling. Those cold waters shift and stagnate under a cotton polyester blend. They never got to lay claim to the water, but by God, how they dammed, privatized, seized, overfished, extracted, deregulated, poisoned, commodified, pulled the cloth from the crease quick, like a run in a stocking, rip the color clean from scalp. An instantaneous divide reminds what can be taken and what can be absolved. Later, a Black boy will fit his mouth around the word rage, hold it behind his tongue, ferment his brooding into savage. Watch him pull bones from the riverbed, casting wide mesh drenched in cotton coagulations. Pray for summer rain to rinse all these trifling transgressions clean. Any flood breaks a bullet's back, but does not siphon the blood back into body. Baby, I can't help but enshrine you as a vengeful sea god, drowning in all that drip, all that wet, all that sheen. That poem was Durag, and it was featured in a really cool exhibit, oh my goodness, by this artist who made like quilts and other like forms of kind of like three-dimensional art with durags. And always I'm just reminded of just like the ingenuity and the like just like the cool like things that Black artists, like Black diasporic artists just see and make from our experience. So I was so blessed to be part of that exhibit in New York. And I just love like, you know, like cross medium collabs. So if there are any other artists who want to collab out there, I'm always down. This next poem is a little bit more, I guess, like whimsical. I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I don't know how many people are familiar with it. Very interesting place. Very segregated, as most places are. But I mean, 5 Points was like the predominantly Black neighborhood, and then you get to Aurora, that's like mostly kind of like immigrants. And then other like Black folks are out there. And then Denver, kind of like the Bay Area, is getting gentrified pretty bad. So a lot of the neighborhoods are changing. And I used to split my time between my mom's house and my grandma's house when I was young. And my grandma passed away in 2011. And before she had passed away, she had moved back to Detroit. So the house was kind of empty for a while. And then we finally sold the house. And my mom, I think it was like a few months ago, she sent me a picture and she was like, do you want to see how they remodeled the house? And I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing ever. Like, I just felt so many emotions I didn't know that I was capable of feeling, just looking at this remodel. I don't know why nowadays everybody wants to make everything like so plain, and truly like plain and like white, and I don't know, like minimalist. It's not, you know, I don't want to hate if that's like your thing, but like it's just not really my thing. I love color. I love vibrancy. I love, you know, different elements being blended together, because I think that's a big part of my culture. And so I wrote this poem in remembrance of my grandma's house, but more specifically the backyard, because the backyard was like the place that I was at most when I was a kid. I still love being outdoors, but when I was a kid, I always loved the outdoors, and especially my grandma's backyard, because it was one of the safe, you know, like the neighborhood wasn't great. So the backyard was definitely one of the safer places to be. It's called On the Outskirts of Eden. The white lady next door had such a beautiful apple tree that she defended with her life. When squirrels tried to nibble on its garnet grace, we would hear the pop pop of her grandson's BB gun discouraging their curious feast. A squirrel without a tail survives, its equilibrium forever distorted. Unable to balance on a tree's soft limbs, it chews on the half-rotted apples littering the ground, risking sickness for nourishment. As children, we heeded her warning diligently, so we waited for the branch to bend over our fence, heavy with fruit, before flinging sharp pebbles as artful offerings, tiny in their metamorphic launch to deliver precious harvests. Geometrists in our precision, we giggled as our makeshift arrows struck through thin wood, sending sweet flesh jewels into the soft embrace of our lawn. My aunt once told me, laughter is the most primal form of prayer. We are all parishioners of mischief, of delight that stretches beyond man-made borders. I watched, awestruck, as my cousin turned her smiling face to the sky, opened her arms to catch what bounty had emerged after a long, wilting season. Hands dusted with pollen, the green root of her untendered. She collected her God-given right, bit into a hard-won pleasure, full of spirit, still tailed, still giggling with blossom-laden gospel. So this next poem, I feel like this is gonna be just like such a rapid shift in mood between these two poems. I want to prepare people because this one is definitely a little bit more. I don't consider myself a cynical person, but sometimes you like just take stock of all the history and all of the things that have impacted your family, and like it's not that you want to laugh, but you're just kind of like shocked at how absurd like just like this constant like fight for life is. And so this poem is about that constant fight for life, and it is called Life Cycle. America is a factory. My father builds security cameras from discarded junk phones. Their cracked screens, a subterranean stained glass burgeoning blessings. Come one, come all if you dare. He welds a fine line between surveillance and security. My father is no stranger to a gun. My father believes in a self-proclaimed rapture. The hills have eyes. My father's lenses thicken as his vision defers. At the end of the world, he hopes to patent his despair. America is a landfill. Underwater bloodline brined, it's soured. My neighbor pours the leftover liquid from a pot of greens into his garden. Billowing green stink arises, stains room for ripening. Black folks despise waste. The last drops of Crown Peach in the dog's water bowl for taste. The plastic bags under my auntie's kitchen cabinets, exceptional cushioning for our endangered shadows. Never afforded the softness of packing peanuts. Is the soul biodegradable? Can it be upcycled? At least we still have Granny's house. Wrap your apparitions in polyester coves, send them out to ocean. May they forever exist in sedimentary purgatory, floating on. In this sense, we never rest. In this sense, pollution profits. And won't these white folks come and pick up the damn trash? America is a false idol, all my people iconoclast. Look out the window at all of that. Goddamn, what is he protecting? Ain't nothing here ours but scraps of metal. Melt it all down, why don't you? Some homes are worth less than their copper pipes. This metallic stew pot boiling over. My ancestors bartered their gold teeth for green, earned heart disease and curdled cream dreams instead as the planet warms another degree. Mama says my degree won't save me. Suppose cash really does rule everything around me. I wonder what rich bones can broth a new vanguard. America is a malignant tumor. Oh, how I long to capitalize this intrusion in our collective heartbeat, beating away at the floorboards of good sense until the spirits rattle around, pushing daisies, memory stinging nettle unsilenced. Watch the good earth reclaim clunkers for cash. Nostalgia makes a mockery of presence. The open-faced sores on my uncle's knuckles attribute to this nation's success. I won't bullshit you. He reeks of burnt sienna and ember. It all reeks of pyrated pyrite, fool's gold. I talk too much about my grandmother's hands because they threshed this country. Great migration granny built Ford tough, a gorgeous ghost gnarled into graphics. Look closely. You can see flakes of calluses soldered to your car's lithium battery. I talk too much about my grandmother's hands because they became cracked by bleach, ammonia, everything meant to whiten and purge bacteria. She passed down her genealogy of anguish, lead heart and blood, black lung coughing up embattled blues, and wasn't the Tin Man once chopping through scorched earth too? My gut is filled with vengeful microorganisms. Today and every day beyond grief, I throw my griefs against any surface in need of shine. America, define yourself a country exactly. My offering, a knotted bellyache of sadness born beyond a destined horizon manifested. The embers of our lost selves tumbling across the West Coast. Even the mountains seem to collapse with sadness. The spine of the uninherited earth curved like that of a funeral wailer. An assembly line aggravating access. All that rust corroding our good sense. Riddle me this. How can I be well when my lawn is always burning? So that's life cycle. I think I'm going to do 2 more. Thank you so much for having me. I have a publication date for my book. It's going to be April 18th, 2023. However, pre-orders are going to be available before that. And I don't know if folks are aware, but pre-orders are really critical to an author's time, especially as we try to get into bookstores, you know, like other publishing venues. So if you want to know more about pre-orders, definitely check out my website, ashiainbloom.com, and I'll put it in the chat a little bit later, as well as my social media platforms on Instagram and Twitter. That's ashiainbloom for both. And thank you again so much for being here. So I'm gonna finish out with 2 poems. Let me find it really quick. All right, so it's always funny, like I think sometimes doing things via Zoom, because sometimes like in the audience, sometimes I want to be like, how many people have heard of this? Or like, can I get a show of hands? But I mean, you can do it, you can do the hand emoji on Zoom, but I don't know, it doesn't like really work the same. But I know that some folks might be familiar with Fannie Lou Hamer, who is a very prominent voting rights activist, as well as co-owner of Freedom Farm. She did a lot of work around land ownership and land sovereignty with Black Americans, especially in the South. And one of my favorite quotes of hers is, "I keep a shotgun in every corner of my bedroom, and the first cracker even looks like he wants to throw some dynamite on my porch. Won't write his mama again. I keep a piece of myself on the porch. Don't test me. I have had everything ripped from my flesh and still fix my gums to smile at those who wish me harm. Don't try it. I am a nigga who comes from niggas, and as such, I do not play. This body owns nothing, exists everywhere. You can't kill me. All the fullness in the world collides within my frame. A grand unraveling weathers me mighty vengeful. Can you say the same? My love shatters anything that has tried to cause me harm. Ceremony predates survival, so leave my flowers at the doorstep and dance until your heart bursts into 1,000 new iterations of godliness. Fill my cup with lilac wine where one can pull a Nina croon through the window until a swan song of rage fills the walls and covers me in honeysuckle rose. Give me all that I desire or nothing at all. I want a wig. I want a plot of land. I want a small wind that carries me through the rest of forever. I am owed at least that." All right, so I don't know if anybody out here is like into like manifesting or whatever, but those last few lines, you know, that might, if you might want to incorporate it into some manifestation work. I want a new wig, I want a plot of land, I want a small wind that carries me through the West forever. All right, so I know that most folks are here based in the Bay Area. I will say I'm a 303 baby through and through. I love Denver. I gotta represent Denver everywhere I go. So this last poem I'm gonna read is a plosive for Denver. I actually learned what the term plosive was from Cardi B's Up, and I'm gonna butcher it really bad, but she says like big bands busting out the Bentley bag, and like it's basically a repeat of the same consonant throughout a sentence. I mean, that's what a plosive is. And so this is a plosive for Denver. Queen City of the Plains, for in you we live and are loved. Denver, my devil dear, didn't you defeat yourself from jump? Didn't you define yourself from get? Deals me damned by definition, deliciously divines, and tempted me to stay dry Dixieland. Darling Denver, didn't you debut dutifully? Deep durazno summertime skies, dandelion debauchery dominated by delight. Denver, you are a desperate decomposer. Didn't you warn me of my own deflowering? Diminishing daydreams, dour drought, a damaging city's deception persists. The OGs watched your Domingo deliverance, doping your devotees through deceitful decolonization. Demented dualities dish daggers in the name of development. Yet still so dynamic and dreamy. Delinquents dangle from your dreads, disastrous in your delectability. Denver, I dance with you at a distance. Displacers disturb deities, create dents in your dirty, dim dusk. So drunk you are in your delusion, dog. Denver wears a dashiki to a jazz festival, calls herself dapper. Discordant chords strike through pipe dreams. Denver Dayflower, don't write me off as deadweight. I wiped my shoes on your dank doormat. Your decay stuck to my digits, deracinated by damnable design. Dear Denver, don't disregard my diatribes. It's my duty to disparage your disappearing act. Your dispossessed have come to collect their debt. Thank you so much for having me. Nia, you are the best. And I am so excited to hear the rest of the open mic. I will put all of my info in the chat and appreciate you all for sticking around and listening to my words.
Thank you so much, Ashia. And it's really exciting that we got to do two events this week together and meet in person. So I'm just so excited to have you here in this space and hear more of your work and have your crew here also sharing their brilliant work. So thank you so much for filling this space. And like that last piece made me want to dance with the rhythms of the words and also like how you were sharing just like the process, the craft of it. So thank you. Please do drop the pre-order link and all the ways that folks can support your work and follow what you're doing. So thank you again so much. And we do have a full second half. So I'm excited to invite up Jacqueline King to start off our second half. Welcome up.
Thank you so much. And those poems were so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to share two poems. They're both short, so hopefully I can help us catch up a little bit on time. This first poem is called Shade Comes in Many Forms. Throat chakra, earth. Imagine a rhizome populating underneath the dark nutrient soil, popping up shoots and pushing deep roots from its nodes. It runs parallel to secrets hidden in a basement with a note on the door, beware. Shade comes in many forms and light isn't always required for photosynthesis. I make like ginger and use spice to ward off fear and clear my nose of the scent of past lovers and coat my throat with words of poetry, calming my stomach to stomach the very real chance of failure. When that happens, I'll reach towards the sun to help lift me back up. I'll use turmeric to disinfect the cuts on my knees. Thank you. And the second poem is called Leash Boa Love Notes, 2022. I dreamt you into existence, so I keep dreaming, baby. Dream all day, all night. Dream with me, baby. Dream big. Let's build a house by the sea. Come live with me. We'll see all our dreams wash up to shore. The shell to my abalone. Alone I am no more. Between the sea and the stars, you'll find me dancing with banana feet. Show me where it hurts and I'll cuff the pain away. My palms like the sun, a burning star. I was angry once when you told me you loved my nose. When I learned how to love myself, I learned how to love you. You once told me time operates differently for me as you checked your watch. Already we were 15 minutes late. I'm sorry. All my time now, it's forever yours. In its circuitous count ticking from my hour hand to your minute. Between us, only seconds to let our head up for air. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both of those pieces. Those were beautiful. And I feel like we're in this kind of environmental earth theme here today. So what a lovely coincidence. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Cal Kalamia up to the mic. Welcome.
Sorry. There's quite a few of us here, and I was like tripping over the wire necessary to get over here. But I'm ready now. Thank you so much for putting the reading on, and it's great to be here. This poem is called San Francisco, How I Hate and Need Thee, How You Hurt and Heal Me. How can it cost this much money to occupy space? One bedroom in a house full of bedrooms full of people you don't know, $1,200 a month. 1 minute late to move your car out the way of the street sweepers, $100. Not every month, but shit, it's hard in a pandemic being told not to leave, but expected to move, confronting, running at 9 a.m., the dude writing a ticket, refusing to dismiss it. We are in nothing together, every man lavish or scraping by for himself. Unaware of a newly placed construction sign, my partner paid $600 for the space a car takes up in an impound. Call it $590 if it's your first time, call it newcomer's discount. Plus $7 if you leave to return to our 7x7 square, call it 7 times a month, call it 49. What a conundrum. Is life commodified? $63 a day for food, shelter, electricity, yet this is the only city where I feel safe. Even in other parts of this fucked up, expensive state, doctors misdiagnose me, mistreat me, double check my ID to ensure it's possible that a man with a vulva can exist, then still edit my chart as if to make me disappear. And in states like Missouri, where the rent is cheap, gender neutral bathrooms are unrequired, conspiring, call it religious protection. But bathrooms are not in the Bible. The Bible is an excuse to manifest exclusion. And in states like Florida, officials are considering ending transgender infiltration with simple genital inspections of minors. Should suspicions arise, say, I decide where I reside, look anywhere but here, I'll be financially free, but what I need will be denied to me. Mental health, hormones, at least a feigned right to exist. If I get misdiagnosed again because healthcare professionals think knowledge excludes trans, if upon my instruction of my anatomy, I am called no longer a man, I would say it's probably not worth it for me to have cheap rent. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that piece and for being here in this space. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Samantha Stevens. Welcome up to the mic. Same mic, same camera.
Yes, hi, I am the Sam of the many names on this list. I'll read a love poem and then I guess another kind of love poem. Here's what's left of all the ways we tried to love each other. Is there a drop of nectar still hanging from the lightest part of your throat? I'm content now to let this not be a sweet thing. If I'd gotten better at telling this story while it was still ours, I'd have the words for what we've lost. Deflated. The weight of you not being here sits atop everything. I feel time as it moves through the places your body used to be, making air of all the matter between us. I am left to run the absence factory. What to do with this clunky machine already set in motion. No longer what tethers you to anything. I move and you move elsewhere through states that are no longer mine to tend. Finished from both ends, the future burns toward us. Give me something of yours to keep the rain. We all have a shovel and something we would bury if we could. And we tried, but it took root. We were almost happy to watch it grow, find a new form, something other than the same boulder we'd been carrying. We learned to overlook it mostly like weeds. Till one of the babies plucked one from the earth and brought it to their nose. We had let it go too long. So we waited till the harvest moon and gathered in the night. Mixed our hands in the soil with the beetles and the grubs. We burned what we could and cast the rest into the sky. There's a wasp's nest of grief outside every window. Now we praise the thrum for all it drowns out with the same faith that kept our grandmothers alive. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Those pieces were lovely. Thank you for sharing. Next up, I would like to invite Liu Huang up to the mic. Welcome.
Hi all, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm going to read 2 poems from ancient China because about moon, because a week ago is the Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival. The moon will be the full moon, and it symbolized reunion with family, and it symbolized the nostalgia for home. Yeah, and we will eat some food called mooncake. It's a very round cake, which is very delicious. Okay. I'll read the English version, and it's a shame that lots of nuance will be lost during the translation. So I will put the original text in the chat box in case you're interested in checking it. Okay. The first poem is from 700 years ago. Prelude to the Water Melody, Su Shi. How long will the full moon appear? Wine cup in hand, I asked the sky. I do not know what time of the year. It would be tonight in the palace on high. Riding the wind, there I would fly. Yet I'm afraid the crystalline palace would be too high and cold for me. I rise and dance, with my shadow I play. The moon goes round the mansions red, through gauze draped windows soft to shed, her light upon the sleepless bed. Why then when people part, is the moon full and bright? Men have sorrow and joy, they part or meet again. The moon is bright or dim, and she may wax or wane. There has been nothing perfect since the olden days. So let us wish that man will live long as he can. Though miles apart, we will share the beauty she displays. That's the first one. And the second one is from 1,000 years ago in Tang Dynasty of China. It's called Viewing the Moon, Thinking of You by Zhang Zhoulin. As the bright moon shines over the sea, from far away you share this moment with me. For parted lovers, lonely nights are the worst to be. All night long I think of no one but thee. To enjoy the moon I blow out the candlestick. Please put on your nightgown, for the dew is thick. I try to offer you the moonlight so hard to pick, hoping a reunion in my dream will come quick. Thank you all.
Thank you for sharing both of those pieces. Those were beautiful. And please do put the other version in the chat as well so we can take a look. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I would like to invite Sarah Cruz up to the mic. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for organizing. This is such a wonderful event. So I'm just going to read one poem. It's called Labor Day. This is a photograph of my brother on the second day of his first job. This is his first day of work, his first job because no one would hire someone autistic. He is 3 days shy of 34. My mother takes the picture on her old Samsung, a little blurry. He stands, hands by his side, shy, beginning the world in a black polo, red emblem over his heart that reads grocery outlet. White name tag clipped to the button plaque, and his 6'4" frame almost as high as the kitchen transom. I wish I could see his face better. The picture too grainy to see clearly, but he looks happy and proud to stack crates of mangoes, move boxes of broccoli from the back refrigeration room to fluorescent lit bins in produce. I look at the image and know the blue glow of the window says early morning. Know the quiet rhythm of rural America's contrast to the city. Know that Mason will go through his day and most people won't see him. Maybe the gray-haired, 5'0" grandmothers will ask him to reach a box of cornstarch on the top shelf. But most people won't see the care he takes to stack the carrots, check the tomatoes, slew rough, ragged skins from onions, order the boxes of frozen fish in the deep freeze. 700 miles away, I see him sure and happy in the rhythm of unloading boxes, beginning his morning, invisible clockwork, beating heart of the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful piece. Appreciate you sharing. Next up, I would like to invite S Leonard up to the mic. Welcome.
So beautiful.
Hello.
Oh, turn it on.
Hang on. Okay. Oh God. Hi. I'm horrible at Zoom. Thank you to MoAD and all the wonderful readers. I'm reading a poem called Earth, Wind, and Mostly Fire. On a rare, warm day in San Francisco, I met a philosopher, I know, writing a book about the classical elements, earth, air, water, fire, which she said needed revision. I don't know if there's a new one or a dropped one like Destiny's Child, or if one, maybe fire, gets brought to the front like Diana Ross to the Supremes, or for that matter, Beyonce. I can't say I even understand carbon emissions. All I know is that she has a point. Shit's changing. We're going to need a bigger definition. A planet is a girl group. Earth is not a star. And yes, things are heating up. Insert forest here is on fire. Everything's on fire is now a common greeting. Beyonce on the radio sings, I'm looking for a new foundation, seconds after announcing she's just quit her job. The song of the summer is the sound of collective resignation to our new hot doom. A shakeup in the lineup looms. The problem with apocalyptic thinking is how it prizes endings. Darling, I hate to break it to you, but life will go on, perhaps unrecognizably, and maybe that's scarier than all of the smoke. Change is hot, hard, like mud or wind, or maybe we'll be dazzled by the talents of a new element, another anthem of fabulous survival. We will learn all the words and try our best to sing along. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're sticking with this earth theme here. Thanks for sharing. Next up, I would like to invite Saranya Subramanian up to the mic. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm reading a poem called Somewhere in the Night. These days, nights slime over the window frame and slink into my home. I'm somewhere between Jiva Koti and Ishwar Koti, somewhere between texting a new boy and wanting to die. If I am to first negate the world before affirming it, if I am to want ultimate freedom, how do I gently say this to my body? How do I gently let my body down? Everything is funny to Wallace at Walgreens, but at least he tells me jokes when I'm there at midnight hunting for melatonin. He asks me what's up. I debate whether or not I should tell him that everything hurts, my top right molar and my heart, but both dental care and therapy are exorbitant in your country. Instead, I say, not much, just can't sleep. He nods and smiles, tells me a joke. I walk back home, hoping the same guy at the bus stop doesn't follow me once again. Can't tell the time at home anymore. 3 clocks on my phone anxiously tick between 3 continents. The oven timer's been off since before I moved in, and I don't think anyone's awake in any of the places I know. Should check the time though, should check when the grocery stores open so I can buy milk and bread and vegetables and other things to sustain this life so I can keep on living. Should probably shower today, should probably wash the dishes or unpack or clean my room, should probably pop a Dolo 650 to flatten the fever that's rising within my skin. It's burning. The sun must be close. It should rise soon. Thank you.
Wow, what an incredible piece. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Callahan Raleigh up to the mic.
Oh, thank you everyone for being here and welcome back to the party going on. If I let them, men fidget with fistfuls of me and my pretend modesty in their free time. Maintain manhood through the fury of my slipknot sinew, if arched in a manner pleasing to pull. Men plead to peddle my tides of tension undone, vain themselves exposed into a virile frenzy for show for all the men who are not present, and I let them. If I let them, men womb themselves warm in the translucent opal oil of me thick along their beards. Clever my ravishing into a something reckless and without rhythm, Men breathed the gray of my imagined innocence into a practiced intimacy and a rose blush of begging goosebumps. Bud their bulges noticeable into an eternal animal of biting for their favorite flavor of hairless facile fantasy, and again, I let them. If I let them, men humid my room, moisten my many mirrors when all I want is to watch my body rebel into a nude and fluid feminine. Men whimper their aches of arousal, pressing pretty into my authority and accept it trembling. Men clench around the trill of my cupped consent before mapping it out on my stomach if they ask, and I let them. If I let them, men violet the flutter at the hollow of my hummingbird hips into a steady silken rolling. Straddle swells of my stevia-sweetened, somewhat faked feelings due to my Virgo moon and an eclipsing inability for emotional vulnerability that I think I get from my father. Men urgent my cravings for an unfamiliar infinite tenderness I know won't or can't come from them, yet I let them. If I let them, when I let them, men love me. Men appease my unappeasable attraction, sheer sex into a stealing of secrets I wish I'd never shared, at least not with them anyway. Men till my earth eager and willing with words of action in a low whisper, women do me different. Men spread me like soil, spoil me wet with half-truths and red flowers, and still I let them. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that piece and for being here. It's also really nice hearing like real snaps out loud. So I love that you all are in the same room sharing as well. We have two more readers before we close out our open mic. So I would like to invite up Alan Chazaro up to the mic. And I want to give a shout out for bringing your class to this event as well. It's so lovely to have new voices and new faces in the space. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Nia. Thank you to all the readers. I know I see Norm and Maestro out there. I saw a few other folks I recognize and a lot of new readers that I'm getting to hear tonight. So yeah, a few of us are here from the University of San Francisco, and we're taking a class called Bay Area Poetics, where we're going to different spaces in the Bay every week and just learning from folks, different communities, different diasporas, being present, listening, growing. So shout out, for you all cultivating this space on the regular, and to my students who are here and being a part of this. So yeah, thank you for asking me to read too. I'll keep it brief. I have a poem titled "What the Alien Tried Saying in a Language He Does Not Speak." Lately, I am walking backwards into myself. Lately, I am unspoken. Nepantla, spoken backwards, is liberation. The US territories around my tongue are bordered with resistance. Resistance is not letting anyone inside because resistance is a burning. This is an alternate way of saying forced entry, another sound for memory. My abuela's lengua is the result of someone else's violence. Violence traces the smoothness resting on my face. I dream in inverted silhouettes of upside down question marks, dip into the galaxy swirling above Enye. My alphabet is a scarring of air, the breaking of unsplit lips. I choose to break tradition. I asked the traditional machista what he believed about bullet-pointed honesty. His answer, bullets. I should have asked if he's ever learned how to unswallow his own songs. Give me more and I'll untether myself from myself. Give me less and I'll speak in a body unbroken by punctuations. I'll end it there, but I'm working on a new book right now, and it explores space, outer space, physical space, public space, head space, and sort of mixing that with my identity as a Pocho, first generation Bay Area Mexican American. So pretty excited to share that with folks, but that's one of the poems in there. Thank you.
You're amazing. So good. And very excited for your book as well. So let us all know when that's going to be coming. Thank you for your work. And last but not least, I would like to invite up Avacha to close us out this evening. Welcome up, Avacha.
I am so honored. You folks blow me away. I mean, and Ajani, like I said, Ashia Ajani, forgive me. I always love your work, so I was grateful to hear you again. I want to do two pieces. My book is out. It'll be at the distributor probably tomorrow. 274 pages of Avacha. It's called With Every Step I Take 2. And I'm only going to do one of the poems from it. And then I have another book coming out pretty soon. It's called Diaspora Negra, Black Diaspora. And it's about folks all over the diaspora. So anyway, this first one is called Sanctuary. And it's a love poem that I wrote when we were living in the projects. And when you're in love, I mean, even the slimiest neighborhoods can start looking beautiful. So this is called Sanctuary. Screaming gently comes the night. And again, I face my soul and laugh. I weave musical webs to trap the stars, casting nets of doo-wop and cool-bop, bomba, jazz, and blues. A determined seeker of your mix of sweetness, an uncaged nightbird flying freely, ascending, blending, reveling in the amazing acceptance of your black bliss, free. Like the wind is free to catch the moon, and I am drunk on tunes of darkness and drunk on songs of you. Screaming softly creeps the night, softly, gently, like the cat, and I am free of daylight's terrors, free to be me, exploring a galaxy of you. Finally free, finally free, finally me, free of the faceless toxicity of workaholic horrors. God, please don't make morning come too soon, cause daylight always brings down the sorrow of urban sun shining on the coldest of me, buried in the concrete, just an artificial plastic covered world without you. And crawling loudly comes the dawn. The sun withers me just like a weed. The workplace lights outshine your beauty. The smell of morning garbage kidnaps the scent of you. Once more, that same old 9 to 5 horror tells me I ain't nobody, I ain't no good, till the sun gives up its shameless fight and nighttime speaks. The blue-black truth heals me with pure, undiluted power, intoxicates me on the promise of your warm presence, and pulls me into the darkness of your bluest blues. I know tomorrow may outshine this evening. The morning madness shrieks its cruel alarm. Day breaks, just a ruthless clock, an inescapable bomb delivering gloom and doom. But soon, screaming gently comes the night, softly, screaming comes the night. When the light of chocolate heaven again descends, and just thinking of you is enough to keep me high, drunk on the thought of the taste of your touch, grinning from ear to ear and living for one more dose of the liberating security of your rejuvenating darkness. And I'm free. I say I'm free home again. Finally, really free to be me, intoxicated on anticipation and completely drunk on songs of you. This, thank you. That's from the one, my book. I'll put that in the chat. And before I go and do this last poem, I do a poetry series. It's the longest running multilingual series in the Bay Area. It's called La Palabra Musical, or the music of the word. We've had over 20 different languages. And Nia will be one of our features coming up on the 24th, I believe. And Violeta Orozco is a youngster that's going to blow your mind if you've never heard her. She just won the Latino book award. She's young and powerful, and just, anyway, everybody, if they're there, believe me, they're going to blow your mind. So this next one is from another book that will be coming out in a few months, Diaspora Negra. It's called Nuestra Cosa Afro-Colombiana, and I've got to read it from the computer because I haven't printed it out yet. And the Curulao is an Afro-Colombian dance. There's a part of Colombia when slaves escaped, they took over this part. It's unceded land. It's called Palenque. It still exists. And the folks are beautiful. They have the most amazing music. And this dance is just absolutely awesome. So it's in Spanglish, but hopefully you will get the message. Nuestra Cosa Afro-Colombiana. Slavery is an abomination. Un juguete despreciable para los malvados, and it never has been pretty. No matter how they dress it, it is and was and will always be ugly. Un juego condenado en las manos de los malintencionados. Still, they tried every kind of way to bleed us dry in the mines of Colombia, but our will to survive was stronger than the lash, and they kept us alive. Oye, look, listen, listen, listen. You can still hear it. It sings to you in the musical defiance of the marimbas of Chonta. Open your eyes, see it. And el orgullo arrogante that's still alive and well in el currolao. This is the choreographic pride still alive in our cultural legacy. We are the beauty of el litoral Pacifico en la costa colombiana. An irreplaceable elegance escrito en los huesos, una belleza irrefrenable, dancing, 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 always dancing, y así somos. Somos los sonidos africanos, somos que viven en los pies. We are the children of stubborn ghosts que bailan en el alma, courageous ghosts still weaving dreams and tears, rhythmic fire and love into an irrepressible dance. Esto es a currulao, a never-ending exorcism where ancestors scream and declare their freedom, rhythmically screaming, dancing, screaming, gracefully screaming, gritos santificados flowing like the blood in our veins through each and every one of us and all of our ancestors, a creative power that's impossible to ignore and older than time, mystical something, transformándonos, and continuing to speak to the world through our feet. Anyway, so that is a book that's not out yet, but will be coming out pretty soon. Right now, With Every Step I Take Two is out, and I will put it definitely in here. And please join us on our open mic. We have 4 features, which means we only have 10 open mics. And if you want to be one of them, means you got to get there early. So if you don't make the list, you definitely will hear some great poets. And thank you for listening to my words.
Thank you so much, Avacha. What a way to close this beautiful, beautiful evening of poetry. I want to thank Ashia again for that incredible feature. I want to thank everyone who shared this evening, everyone who is in our wonderfully supportive audience. Thank you for making these events so incredible and so kind of heartwarming. This is just one of the many programs that we do at MoAD. We're doing a lot of virtual programs still. We do have some in-person programs, so please visit our website, which is moadsf.org, to see all the amazing events that we're doing. Our next open mic will be next month, still on Zoom, on October 20th, and we have the wonderful Rila Violet Bots Ward as our feature, so please check it out and support. In between then, many literary programs in partnership with Litquake. We have our Afropolitan Ball coming up, so please check out our website again for more details. And Elizabeth also shared in the chat, we'd love to hear your feedback about how you enjoyed the program. If you have any feedback, if you'd like to see other types of offerings from the museum, please take a few moments to fill that out. It really helps us know what more we can be doing to support you all. And I hope to see you all again at a future event, whether it's virtually or in person. Thank you all so much for your continued support for the work we do. It really goes a long, long way. So I hope you all take care and hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Stay safe, everybody. Oh, you know,
thank you so much for coming. Have a good evening.
Poetry walk this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, Avacha.
Buenos Wonderful show. Thank you so much.
Avacha, what did you say about a poetry walk this weekend?
A poetry walk. It happens every year. That's the pandemic knocked it down for 2 years. So this is the first one since that time. And I'll be there, and it's the whole city turns into poetry. It's everywhere, in every store, every club, every community center. It's all over the place. Starts at 11 o'clock in the morning and it goes to about 9 o'clock at night. So the whole city of Petaluma is going to be alive with poetry. And if you've never been there, you're doing yourself a great disservice. And it'll be in all the different languages. I'll be there in English, Spanish, and Spanglish. But I know a couple of friends who will be speaking Korean. They'll be speaking, what do you call it? Ay, Dios mío. One of the Iranian languages. I'm lost for words. But anyway, it's going to be pretty amazing.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing. And thanks for Elizabeth for finding that link.
Which city? It's Petaluma. I thought she said Elmore at first, but it's Petaluma Poetry Walk.
Poetrywalk.org. You get all the information about who's reading and when they're reading and everything. But of course, come to mine. Of course, I think you should go.
Thanks so much. See y'all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.